So shall I start, and I'll hand over to everyone. So thank you very much for actually joining. I'm Dr. Pratik Shah, one of the pediatric endocrinologists and CHI. I've been working in CHI for more than 10 years, and one of the working in London. And then my research interest and clinical interest has been working in CHI for more than 10 years. So um, I this has been something that I wanted to do and I was keen to develop. And I think this is really useful. I'm very grateful everybody's here today. So I would just like to introduce everyone, and then we can just talk about this consortium. Thank you very much for joining.
Okay, maybe I can go next. I'm Dr. V. Mohan. I'm a diabetologist. I work with Dr. Radha Venkatesan. So we are at the Madras Diabetes Research Foundation. We are, of course, we have interest in all aspects of diabetes, but monogenic diabetes has been a very big interest for us. So we work on ORDI and all the other monogenic. We have a gene panel, and we also have a very large number of cases of neonatal diabetes as well as CHI. And so we get referrals from all over the country. We are an ICMR center for now almost 20 years, and Dr. Radha Venkatesan heads that. And in the case of neonatal diabetes and congenital hyperinsulinism, CHI, we do the testing free of cost for anybody from private, government, from all the medical colleges, including AIMS, Delhi, and from many other institutes we get. So we have quite a large number of cases, and probably Dr. Radha can throw more light on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohan and Dr. Pratik. I'm Dr. Radha Venkatesan from Madras Diabetes Research Foundation, head of genetics department. I've been working with Dr. Mohan for about 22 years, and we started the department of genetics there. And our main interest has been, of course, the genomics of type 2 and monogenic. And monogenic is a subject that's very close to our heart. So we've been doing, Nodal Center of Indian Council of Medical Research, I've been doing a lot of projects with them in MODI, neonatal diabetes, and CHI, and looking through the number of genes and looking at their mutations. And we don't stop there, and we interpret them the way ACMG, AMP guidelines is, and more than that, because ACMG is, it keeps revising itself, and then you have the ClinVar, and you have the GenoMAD, and beyond that, we are continuously, one by one, we are following the parents and the patient's family, so that we know how the progression of the disease is taking place, particularly with respect to NDM and CHA when the drugs have been shifted, and we are able to follow that, and we have shown very good trajectories for more than 5 years. We've been following them up, and we continue to do that. And the other aspect is that we have a functional genomics laboratory in our department. So where we are looking at all the novel and characterized variants, and to find out whether they are, first of all, pathogenic or not, and secondly, whether they are clinically actionable. So all this is being done with an experimental pipeline using cell-based assays. So that's where we are, and we'll be very happy. We are privileged to join this group.
Somebody can go next.
Yeah. Mr. Madan and Dr. Kadam is here, Sandeep Kadam and Dr. Menon.
Dr. Jalak is also there. She's
been
Dr.
Patients. Jalak has.
Yeah, she's been referring patients.
Sorry, Dr. Kadam, do you want to go next?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. I am Sandeep Kadam. I'm a neonatologist at KEM Hospital.
Hi, I saw some network issue.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Sandeep Kadam. I'm a neonatologist at KEM Hospital, Pune. I have been as a faculty since 2004 at KEM Pune, and we are a teaching hospital. We basically have been seeing a lot of patients with unusual presentations. We are not into research for the CHI, because we send a lot of samples for genomic studies to MedGenome. In fact, I think I had sent 1 or 2 patients to UK for gene analysis. But it's interesting to be a part of this group where we would definitely be happy to learn and to some extent empower our parents who are having babies with congenital hyperinsulinemia, and happy to be a part of this consortium.
Shall I just introduce
you.
myself?
Yeah.
Nothing
Dr.
much
Menon.
to say, actually. I'm a pediatric surgeon working in PGI Chandigarh. So the endocrinologist, pediatric endocrinologist, sent me the invitation to join this group. So I'm very glad to pitch in whenever. So just operated some cases for them. So that's the interest, really. Otherwise, we do very broad spectrum of surgery. But definitely, I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We needed pancreatic surgeons like you. I mean, obviously, we've got a few pancreatic surgeons, but I think for the consortium, it will be really helpful for us to have you on board. Thank you so much.
I worked in Oxford for 2 years, so I remember Mr. Johnson was there. So I don't know because he was very interested in this particular disease. So maybe in UK you may be knowing him, Paul Johnson.
Paul Johnson. Sorry, I lost your voice.
Yeah, Paul Johnson.
So he's an adult surgeon, is it? Adult pancreatic surgeon.
No, he's doing a lot of research in this particular area, I thought. Yeah, okay. I'll recheck. Yeah. It's okay. Just mention.
Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Good evening.
Mr. Madan, you are there.
Yeah. Good evening, all. Namaste. I am Madan Gopal. I represent ORDI. So ORDI is an umbrella organization. Actually, we cover all the rare diseases from the non-profits point of view. We collaborate with the stakeholders, be it pharmaceuticals, work with clinicians like you, subject matter experts, work with diagnostic care, physiotherapies and occupational therapy, and various other people who are part of a life cycle for a rare disease child or the family. We work along with the governments. We have made few MOUs with the government hospitals to treat our children, and we have not done much on CHI, and thanks to Dr. Pradiksha and Dr. Jay, who have been working closely with us, trying to build this entire consortium. We have very little knowledge about the medical things, but however, on the non-medical support, we are always there to take care of the patient, because we are a patient-centric organization. Any advocacy efforts required, we will be able to support the consortium in that way.
Thank you very much. I think Jai has just joined. Jai, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, so sorry, I had been running a little here and there with the network. Actually, sir had a fair bit idea. I've just become father a couple of days back, and I had to rush to the hospital with. Thank you.
Congratulations. Your specialty, Dr. Contact?
Yes, sir. So I have done my MD in anatomy.
No.
And currently I'm pursuing my PhD in genetics, and the topic happens to be in congenital hyperinsulinism. That is how we got in touch with Pratik sir. That was to Somsekhar, who is also my co-guide in the project. So yes, we have been putting active efforts into building this consortium, and facilitating the whole process. And during the review and all, I did came across about MDRF and the volume of work that they have been doing. So we thought it would be best to work in a collaboration.
So I think I just thought if it is okay to just quickly summarize, and I think it will be useful then to share. I mean, obviously this is the first meeting, so I can just give a little bit of background. So mainly is that I've been doing clinics in India for quite some time, mainly complex hypoglycemia and hyperinsulinism clinics, and I work with Sarah Flanagan closely in Exeter. You know, having so much done work and research and clinical trials in CHI, and there has always been a sort of a need where the families who I would have seen, they would always ask for some support and or having a multidisciplinary team set up, etc. So it was something that was really kind of, we felt that it was needed. And then I spoke to a lot of people who I knew of and who actually, some of them actually introduced to others, and it was felt that actually this would be really useful. And Jay was keen to take up this as a PhD project. And then we spoke to ORDI, who has been really helpful to set up this family support group. So what we felt was, as part of this consortium, we felt that there will be several aims. One of the aims was obviously to have a parent support group where we can have information sheets and leaflets about these conditions in different languages so people can access that easily, as well as trying to help in terms of medications and drugs, because CHI, so I'm a patron of Hyperinsulinism, the UK charity as well, but CHI International, which is based in US and the UK, they obviously get a lot of families asking questions from India as what to do if you don't get these drugs, etc. And we just wanted to empower them so that they contact ORDI and ask for help. And obviously, if there's any need, if there's any help needed, not only in terms of accessing medications, but also treatment and genetic testing. So that is one. Secondly, we wanted obviously genetic testing to be done freely, which is amazing. You guys are doing, obviously we've been talking for a long time, Dr. Radha, but thank you so much for that. And I think the work which has been done by Exeter here, which has been replicated, and I think with really useful, that has been done in US as well, there where we have a center who can give us results within, like, at least on the KATP channels within the first couple of weeks, so that whether children would need PET scan or not, PET CT scan. What has come to light, and I think that is one of the things that is really challenging, is clinicians sometimes undertake PET CT scan as simultaneously, or they do that first before sending samples to genetics. And also there is obviously quite a lot of different variability of where the samples are being sent or how long the sample, the results takes, etc. And more, and that's why it is something that it will be really useful as organization, as consortium. We can promote genetic testing, where they suspect CHI case, they send off DNA first thing on to the lab, and so that we can get the results, and then if needed, then they get 18F2 PET scan. But this is one of the things that has been, I think that will be really useful for us to make sure that we create awareness, and we make sure that everybody is aware that where to send the samples, how to send the samples, and they can really they can contact if there's any problem, so that at least they know. Thirdly, as part of doing this, and which is what has been undertaken by CHI International, and I was part of that, was a global registry, Hyperinsulinism Global Registry. They have done a lot of work in the last 4 to 5 years. Having spoken to so many clinicians in India, I suspect and I feel that the number of CHI cases we have is definitely more than in UK, in India. I mean, I can just say, including just 2 or 3 states, I can clearly say that that is definitely more than UK. I also think it might be even similar to US or more than in US, but we don't have a natural sort of history data, or we don't have a registry where it will help us to determine as what will happen to these children in the long term. And that also will help us to not only promote this and kind of get more information for children in India, but also, promoting clinical trials and more research, especially from genetic side of things as well. So that was another thing we felt that ORDI can help, and ORDI has been doing natural sort of, they have got a registry, national registry, and they've been working with central government on several projects. So it was felt that it will be really helpful that if we can start thinking about where we bring all the forces together and try and build up a registry that will help us to do that. And fourthly was research. Now, research was clinical trials, where we felt that, I've been kind of PI for several clinical trials for HI drugs. And one of the biggest questions get asked is that, they don't know or how it works in India. It's been very challenging, etc. And I'm trying to bring them on board to come to India to show them that the work, that has been initiated, as well as share their research. And currently there are several drugs that is in phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials, and we would like them to be, to come to India, and also then so that children in India can get benefited from these drugs and clinical trials. And also research point of view, from genetics point of view. And my interest is so I've got a postdoc, and we do a lot of lab work research based in Queen Mary University here, but also I collaborate with Sarah Flanagan and etc. So I think it will be really useful for us to have that, net collaboration, working with centers in US and UK, and that will be really good collaborative work. They come with this CHI consortium. So these were some of the ideas that were floating, and been speaking to Dr. Radha and came to know a lot about the work that has been undertaken, and that is amazing work. And I think what we felt was, if we can promote this as nationally and make sure that people are aware of what is available, because parents spend thousands, and I don't know how much, but they spend so much of money, plus then they end up doing 18F dopa PET CT scan, for which they have to spend again a lot of money, which may not be necessary. So I think it will be really good for us to just create awareness, do some sort of webinars, and then do some conferences where we can invite people, and the clinical trials and drug companies. And Sarah Flanagan, actually, just to let you know, Sarah Flanagan is aware of this consortium, and she's been very happy to be and she's very happy to be external advisor and supportive of this research. So obviously from genetics point of view, she's always said that Pratik, will be great to work together with Dr. Mohan and Dr. Radha and everybody else, to do something work on genetics if needed. So that's where we are.
Maybe I can make a few comments. So Radha and I work closely with Exeter as well. So in fact, we had made a trip just before the COVID, and we had spent a couple of days there with Andrew Hattersley and met the whole group. And they were the ones who kind of, we were doing, of course, for many years, we've been doing the monogenic diabetes testing, but it was they who guided us into the ACMG and the NOMAD, and they taught us the whole thing. And so we were able to completely set it up here based on their guidance. We are in fact collaborating with them in many other ways also. They're trying to set up a MODI calculator for South Asians, because the one which is there doesn't work so well. And then, so they encouraged us to work more on NDM and CHI rather than MODI, because MODI, a lot of work has already been done. We continue to get samples from MODI, but the major reference that we get is for NDM and CHI. NDM, of course, is much more rewarding, because then they go off insulin and they can be treated with sulfonylurea, and it's a game changer, life changer. CHI, after making the diagnosis, the real problem starts. And so, we have, no, so as part of this group, actually, you should invite Vandana Jain, and who's the other person, Radha, from AIMS? Please.
Rajini, Vandana is already there in this. I don't know why. Maybe she's
Yeah,
not
so
joined.
Dr. Vandana Jain and
Rajini Sharma.
Rajini
Rajini
Sharma.
So
And
about
Dr.
Rajni has
Raghupati.
40, 50 cases, 45 cases, I think we published last year.
Right.
And all the genetic testing, initially they were doing in Exeter, and then the rest of the series was done here. And in fact, Sarah is a part of that paper also,
Yes.
which we published
Yeah.
together. And they have, so what we've been able to do is, because you asked for the Indian experience, based on the mutation that we find, we've been able to correlate it with those who respond to diazoxide, those who don't respond to diazoxide, and then those who responded to octreotide. And therefore, the number of cases which really needed pancreatectomy has come down subsequently after doing the genetic testing. The number of cases are increasing because the number of referrals we're getting now, at least one a week we're getting now. What is the current number, Radha, of CHI? Over 200 or 250? Or? Please unmute when you talk.
250, sir.
250.
Yes.
So our current number is 250, which has been sent for testing.
Yeah.
There could be many more which are not sent for testing or being sent elsewhere for testing. But 250, we have an about equal number of NDM as well.
Yeah,
so
a little more.
NDM and maybe a little more. If we include these two, neonatal diabetes and CHI, both
600.
presenting before 6 months or 1 year of age, it's about 500 cases now.
Yeah, 600 cases with syndromes of diabetes.
Then we have syndromes.
Wolframin
About 100 or so. Walcott-Rollison and TRMAs and all that. Now we have a lot of MID also, maternally inherited diabetes deafness. So all that comes to us, various syndromes. And the syndromes, the pickup rate for genetics is very high. So one of the research interests which I would also like to propose is that both in NDM and in CHI, only about 40% or so we are able to pick up the mutation. If you study all the known mutations that are described, only 40% we are able to pick up. Obviously, it's genetic, otherwise you won't get NDM or CHI at 2 months of age without a genetic defect. So that's where I think the new gene discovery also has to take place. And we are now in the process of trying for that, and ICMR is now encouraging us to do that. So as far as the genetic testing is concerned, we work closely with Exeter. So Sarah can be part of the consortium, and we work together, we can publish together, they can continue to guide us if any new things are there. Most of the cases which are referred to us, we only get the blood samples. Very few actually come to us for treatment because we are not neonatologists, and at least for MODI, they will come to us. And neonatal diabetes also we can treat. So some of them come to us directly, but most of the other cases are referred for a quick diagnosis. So we also have a turnaround of about 3 weeks, I think. Rather,
yeah, 3 weeks for, yes.
We're trying to
20 days for the channel genes, first KTPs. For the others, it will be about 4.5 weeks because all of them put together.
We're trying to put that down, but that's what we are presently at. We're trying to cut that down further. And one of the aims would be that if we can have a small chip or a POC kind of a device where at least the KATP channels, if you can get it done instantly, like you do a cholesterol or HbA1c or microbiota or something, that's our dream to, so that you'll know immediately whether to refer the case or not. And then, of course, if we don't find the usual genes, then of course there are other genes as well that which are not just in the
glued and other things, you know, glued HADH. So many are there. So what happens is the interpretation also takes a little time because that is where you can't go wrong there.
One variant or whether it's a benign variant or a pathogenic variant. So that interpretation also takes a little bit of time. But these are all areas which we would be interested to contribute and be part of this. And for us, it's we have no commercial interest at all because we are not getting anything out of it. In fact, we're spending on every child who's referred to us. We have to spend. We are a private organization. So for us, it's only because of passion that we are doing it. We have no other. Of course, the research part would be of interest to publish and to find something new. And if you find new genes, of course, that will also be good. And also to help the children to decide which form of treatment to take. That will be another thing of interest. So,
no, thank you. I think what you shared was very much similar to same for me as well. And I think it's just a passion that is driving all this for many years. So I think outside this, for us, obviously this will be very helpful as a consortium because we have got neonatologists, pediatric endocrinologists, already being as a national organization, and pediatric surgeons. I've also asked for pediatric nuclear medicine radiologists, but I think as part of this consortium, one, we would at least create awareness amongst all the pediatrician and neonatologists so that they know what to do. And I think guidelines. So from our point of view, if we can create some kind of national guidelines, that will be amazing, so that it is endorsed by the societies.
Yes.
But and genetics, definitely, there is a lot of work in genetics to be done, and it will be amazing to carry on this work forward. And I have actually been part of a couple of gene mutations where we've published few cases with new genes. Obviously, we have not undertaken full functional studies yet, but we also undertake some functional studies. And interestingly, Sarah has got a huge database. Obviously, the number of samples they get is maximum from India, which is overseas samples, if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
So in a way, they have got a huge database because they get a lot of samples internationally. But at the same time, she fully understands that this is going to be like us. She's very flexible, but also she knows that, if we are going to work like this, then, samples would be more tested in India. But then she said, Pratik, I'll be very happy that we can be part of it. And then if there's anything unusual or variant of unknown significance, then, they'll be happy to share thoughts and ideas. So
we have done that in the past also when we have had some doubts. In fact, they have written to us about certain things. We have written to them about.
There was a Modi sample. We had this thing, and they were not very sure that it was pathogenic, but eventually we had to prove that, and they also found it in their family. One of the Modi variant. So it has been, like one-on-one. Both of us win-win, that kind of.
And now the type 1 GRS also, the Exeter group has been helping us to set up.
Yeah.
So the
Richard
GRS
Oram
type 1, Richard Oram and
discussion with us.
So, and Angus Jones and Richard Oram and Beverly, and all of them are collaborating.
Yeah. So they I think it will be great. So I just wanted to ask everyone, I mean, sir, and everyone else, is about the guidelines as well. But I just also felt that if we can, like in the next 6 months, if we are going to think about what we would like to do, that will also be helpful. So like, we thought whether we do online webinars where we do some genetics talk so that we can promote and create awareness. I think the biggest at the moment, speaking to so many people, I think the biggest block is like on creating awareness and knowledge and making sure that we promote this on a national level and invite everybody. And then guidelines, obviously, that will help people to decide. So I felt, how would you look like in the next 6 months? Would you all be happy if we have like a consortium meeting in a month again, and then we have webinar, and then in July or August, we were thinking of having a CHI conference in India where we can invite drug companies to come and talk to us about the clinical trials? Would you think it will be okay, or shall we do something else?
I think that's a great idea. And August will probably be better because we have a big national meeting which we are organizing in July. It's the mid of July. So probably August would be good to do this. I don't think there's been a full-fledged meeting on CHI at any time. And if we get the press involved and then through social media, we should spread the message. And then by that time, if we have leaflets and things for patients to be given, perhaps all those are already diagnosed, we can pass that on. And then, of course, it's also sensitizing the pediatricians and the neonatologists about this, because many do not know about this condition because it's rare. And so the need for this and what happens to them. And you rightly pointed about the role of drugs, because diazoxide is not available for a long time in India. And we are struggling with some of the children who we are supporting.
They all switched to octreotide,
Yeah.
unwantedly.
And that is also
that's
very
not
expensive.
Fair, but then it became extremely expensive.
So these
That's
are the
true.
places
I mean,
definitely need help. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Kadam is there. He's a neonatologist. I'm sure he can highlight us. But there are quite a few neonatologists in the consortium as well.
Yeah.
Um,
See, what happens is when we see these babies, as a neonatologist, we have some dilemmas. Number one is the treatment. I think we start suspecting hyperinsulinemia in babies where it is very high glucose infusion rate requirements and it is recurring or persistent. But having said that, the access in terms of getting the investigations and the genetic test again is a very difficult issue because sometimes the parents really can't afford, and I was not aware that we had access to doing these free of cost at a research center, but today at least I'm enlightened. So if
We'll be very happy to do that.
no
Anytime,
madam, the reason
a
is
lot of people did not know Dr. Kadam. Honestly speaking,
so,
this is an eye opener for everyone, which is amazing.
so for a person who has come from rural population, even if we had to ask concession, 15,000 rupees for a genetic test was too much for them, and quite a few times they would be not be happy to do it. Even though the patient deserved, the investigation would not be done. So I think that sort of creates a lot of enlightenment, or knowledge is spread, and it should be spread to a lot of pediatricians who I think who are ignorant about congenital hyperinsulinemia. Number two, the treatment choice, whether to start diazoxide or whether to start octreotide, I think, or whether to give calcium channel blocker. There is no clarity. I think we all do it in our own way and fumble, and sometimes we succeed, but sometimes we don't. And I think it would be a good idea to write a guideline, so that, as we said, that congenital hyperinsulinemia, not all are alike, and there are different genes and
Yes.
different
Presentation.
presentations, and their response to drugs of choice
Yes.
would be different
Absolutely.
in sulfonylurea versus the other genes. So I think that clarity is still not there in the masses, and I think it would be a good idea to write review, a guideline which would be endorsed by the endocrine as well as the neonatology society.
And societies and so on.
Yeah. So it makes a lot of difference when people receive such guidelines, at least when to suspect, what to do, which investigations to do, when to do, how to analyze, when do you send genetic tests, how do you interpret, and what are the basic drugs of choices, and how you would go about starting and escalating and then adding. So, and when would a pediatric surgeon be involved, or when to refer for surgery? Like I must have seen about 20, but when we did the scans, there are 2 or 3 different types of nuclear scans for hyperinsulinemia, and one would come normal or negative, and the other would pick up something. So again, clarity about the nuclear medicine scans are also not very clear.
Yes.
So I'm talking to people who are experts than what I have seen. So it may be that I'm ignorant, but these are some thoughts which came to my mind when I would manage these babies with hyperinsulinemia.
Great.
These are my thoughts.
I think one of the things is that when we bring people together in a conference, sharing of experiences also. For example, Vandana Jain's group has got a very large series and we already reported on some 40, 50 cases. So, and there are many more coming there. So, and in that paper, actually, we have classified the responses based on the genetic mutation. And these are all Indian data, which
Correct.
could be a little different from what is seen in the West. It need not be completely different, but there could be some differences. Yeah.
I mean, I remember 2 or 3 babies I've started on octreotide who developed neck, and I lost 2 babies because of severe NEC. So things are really.
No, it's not easy to treat CHI. We always say that if you get NDM, we are very happy because you can just stop insulin and treat them with sulfonylurea. The simplest thing to do, but CHI is much more. And then we have also now started seeing some of these CHI babies, probably Dr. Pratiksha also would have seen some of these people after the age of 3-4 years, they develop diabetes.
Yeah.
They become opposite. So from hypoglycemia, they switch to diabetes.
Yeah. So
Crossover.
yeah. Yeah.
You mean medically managed
So we,
HIs?
Have you
yeah,
seen?
so we have, so
Yeah.
no, you're right. We have seen this actually, but that's the whole reason, because this is the exact discussion we have. Sorry, I'm driving, but this is exactly discussion we have
Yeah.
is about the long-term follow-up and natural history disease.
Yeah.
And interestingly, not only CHI, now in ketotic hypoglycemia, because I'm one of the senior advisory board member in Ketotic Hypoglycemia International, and they have noted that they have children who have a lot of they have children who have developed diabetes after ketotic hypoglycemia.
Oh,
So that's another interest.
okay. Very interesting.
So we can bring that together. So
Yeah.
it'll be a larger group, and that's a different gene that we can look at.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, are you planning to create some website for this specifically for Indian, like CHI India or something like that?
Yeah, sure. It's a good idea. That will help to, when people search.
Of the questions which Dr. Kadam asked, I think those sort of questions could be answered. Probably
So
after.
Dr. Jai Contractor can brief you because he's actually working on it. So he can tell you about that.
So ma'am, our website is already in place. It goes by chi.ordindia.in. That is in collaboration with ORDI. And the website has just chi.ordi India.
CHI.ordi.
ORD India.
ORD India. Okay.
Organization for Rare Disease India.
Yeah.
We look it up.
Yes.
I think if a nationwide alert is given to look for such cases, then we'll probably get many, because otherwise many children may be dying of hypoglycemia, and blood glucose may not even be tested in many centers. They may not even be aware that you can get either neonatal diabetes or hypoglycemia.
Yes, sir, you're right. I mean, I think when you mentioned this, that was the whole reason. In fact, I mean, when I've done clinics, and I did clinic recently when I was in India, but there are children who've got severe developmental delay, and people are not even aware of, to monitor blood glucose frequently. There are lots of issues in terms of cost because they don't have money to even buy blood glucose strips and monitor. So one of the research which I'm obviously keen is at the moment, which is very hot right now in the UK and US, is CGM, continuous glucose monitoring, because that we use in diabetes, but we obviously don't use that in CHI.
Yeah.
But those who can afford it, they can get it. Otherwise, they can't get it. So it's true that right now there are children who are dying or who are not even able to. I mean, they don't even know what's happening, and then they end up with severe epilepsy. And in fact, I saw a child recently in clinic in India that they were investigated for a year, at least 1.5 years, with severe epilepsy and status epilepticus, but nobody checked glucose until someone checked glucose and turned out to be CHI. So, but obviously now the child has got severe neurodevelopmental delay. But it's true that even in places where people kind of are managing complex cases, but sometimes they don't check glucose. So it is very important that we create awareness and try and actually tell people that this is a condition that is there, which people need to check blood glucose levels.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Dr. Chandrasekhar, pediatric surgeon from Hyderabad. Hello.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
I think having seen a reasonable number of CHI patients over the past 20 years, I think there are two aspects of this whole management of CHI that we need to address. The first thing is as somebody rightly said, picking up the diagnosis, suspecting it first, because we've had babies who have got significant brain damage. So before they were diagnosed, so we actually refused any further any surgery on them. So I think the pediatricians and the neonatologists who see these children first should be, I think, the information should be passed on. I think that's the first aspect. And then comes the genetic, so immediate suspicion and then treatment with glucose and, glucose infusion or whatever it takes before they develop hypoglycemic seizures or hypoglycemic brain damage. The next step would be, of course, the genetic diagnosis and the workup, and then deciding on which will go for medical, which might go for surgical, and everything else. So I think these probably should go hand in hand, both these steps.
Agreed.
Hello.
Yeah, we heard you. I agree also.
Because I've had, believe me, I've had senior neonatologists call me and tell me, we don't know what is happening. We have never seen this kind of hypoglycemia.
Mm-hmm.
So, then I have to tell them, no, this could be CHI. You please, investigate, do the glucose insulin ratio or whatever, and then you confirm it, and then you can then send the child across to us so that we can manage. So the awareness, I think, is lacking among the primary pediatricians and neonatologists who are managing these patients to begin with.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I think this is really important. So that's what we will be hoping to work with. And there are so much of stories, and thank you, Dr. Chandrasekharan, to join today. Thank you, sir. But I think there are so many stories, and when we speak to people, clinicians, this is exactly what is happening, is that everybody has got, it's very different experience, and it's not the same. Children, I think it all depends on who do you see and whether they really know about this condition. So I hope that this consortium, that's what we felt, that hopefully that everybody will come together. Guidelines will be one of the things that we can share with people, and hoping that this will kind of spread about more information about this condition. So Jay has actually agreed to share some of the leaflets. He's creating some leaflets. Okay. We can share all those leaflets with you. We've also created information sheets, which is on our website, this CHI ORDI, so but we can share all those. I mean, those are the draft, they are the draft copies. So obviously any suggestion would be very helpful. But we've created those leaflets so that at least parents can get that information. Then we thought we'll create those in different languages. So it's kind of available in different languages. So mainly is about CHI. We also wanted about drugs, also side effects about drugs, and then surgery. So we would have a small leaflet about focal surgery, about diffuse surgery, so that people know about, in case if they need to get surgery done, at least they know what it is. So we can think about any number of leaflets, what we think of, the patients and families might benefit from it. So those kind of things were the thoughts, that we could have all those leaflets.
Excellent. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. I mean, if all that has been done, it's very good. And even for the guidelines, since the UK and US and all have been working on it for a long time, we can use that and adapt it to Indian conditions, because most of the guidelines will be the same, because the disease will be having a similar pattern while we develop our own resources and our own experience. But there's not going to be, disease is going to be quite similar across the world. So if you already have some guidelines, it will be, it can be, first made into an Indian guideline. The consortium can get together and publish something in Indian journals, so that they get to know about it, and widely distribute it on social media and so on. So it's
yeah, I think that's what exactly we were thinking, that actually we are just putting something in the UK right now.
Okay.
But we put this international guidelines that's nearly accepted. I mean, we just had minor revision changes.
Okay.
But like you said, I think it will be good we can adopt to those.
Yeah.
There are a few things that we may have to discuss in the consortium, because I know in India people have been using gallium exendin scan a lot compared to 18F-DOPA. And we have done a beta cure study. We published that, where we found gallium exendin is actually slightly better isotope. But it all depends on us, like like you mentioned about resources available, because they feel gallium exendin is it's easy to do it. So maybe we could share those. We'll draft the guidelines, but then we can have our own Indian version, which is applicable to Indian population.
Correct.
And something on those bases, basically.
Wonderful.
Some years ago, the seminars in pediatric surgery is a publication, I think, four volumes every year. If I remember, one volume dealt completely with the management of CHI. So the US protocols, I think it was the CHOP protocol. The CHOP probably is one of the referral centers there for CHI.
Yeah.
So it was the CHOP protocol, which it was very nicely written, and we used to follow them, we followed them, and, I gave it to.
So I will be attending the CHOP meeting this as well.
Okay.
And then they are going to have the guideline session also. So I'll be there for both the days. I have a invited lecture.
When is it?
there.
March, is it?
No, that's April 13th and 14th.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so they published, I think, CHOP. So again, they will be discussing this, and then CHOP had done their own work. I think there is slight different way of working obviously in US and the UK, and I assume that will be different what we do in India as well, because I think the number of near total pancreatectomies was much higher for diffuse compared to sort of what we do in the UK. But I guess it is all dependent on how we would put this as now, and that's where now there are more new drugs coming out, so that is also helping us to prevent near total pancreatectomies.
Is there anything else on this call? Otherwise, we can.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
The meeting or something. If you can send Pratik, and then connect all of us in a group, and then we can keep adding more people to the group, and then as a start, maybe some of those leaflets you can send. And Jay, what is your research project on, PhD? Dr. Jay, you're there?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Yeah.
Could you?
No, I was just asking, what is your research? You said you're doing PhD, so I want to know what your research project was on. What aspect of PHI?
So we are looking to find novel genetic mutations of CHI in Indian population.
Oh.
And, yeah, and precisely what we have been discussing up till now, that to have a consortium and form uniform guidelines of CHI. Primarily, it was to have to identify novel mutations of CHI.
Okay. We'd like to collaborate in some way. We'd be happy to.
Indeed, sir. Indeed, and I have a lot to learn from MDRF. Is what
you can come and visit us actually and have a look.
I'm very eagerly looking to get some skill on the testing part, and it would be wonderful to at least get a first-hand experience of how it is being done at MDRF.
Sure.
So Dr. Jay would be, sir, very happy to be your coordinator, which I know Dr. Radha has been doing a lot, and I did mention that he will be happy to help to streamline the process of genetic testing so that we can make sure that people are aware of this. And then we were also discussing about making sure that they send all this clinical info, but also to do this national registry. So Jay is he's doing this as a PhD, but his PhD is a small part of it. But then he said that he will be happy to continue on this. Okay. But mainly was to try and at least get the national registry up and running, create some leaflets, which I was saying to him that we can circulate to all the clinicians via various organizations, so people know about this, that is available, and then he can create all those information sheets as well. Yeah, Mr. Madan, sorry.
Yes, sir. We have started the awareness program. It's called as Race for 7. It is for all the rare diseases, and this is a marathon kind of a program which we have started. And yesterday we completed the program in Cochin and Ahmedabad, and we have tied up with IAP nationally as our knowledge partners. And we are taking this to 13 cities, going up to March 26th on every Sunday. Even in Chennai on March 19th we are there. This weekend we are in Bangalore. After that we are in Mumbai and Hyderabad and other places. So if we can build the leaflet, probably we can take it through the IAP route, because they are also interested to actually disseminate the information through their network. And we have also tied up with many other organizations who are supportive. There are around 26, 28 organizations who are basically an NGO who want to carry the information and build awareness, especially in tier 2 towns, where the knowledges are even the medical people are not aware about rare diseases. So we can push CHI's information through that network. And for Race for 7 this year, we have kept 5% allocation of the BIPs exclusively for CHI. That means if 10,000 people are running, 500 people will be wearing CHI's BIP. I run for CHI. Okay? Most of the people, they go back and check, for which, and they will be able to read more about and spread this word across. So this is one small exercise we have started for CHI from ORDI team. And I think with more and more information coming in, then we will be able to disseminate. Today we have around 15 million people. We have reached 15 million people for Race for 7. And we have got around 6,000 people registering for us. There is an action. So that means there is some momentum which is actually started. By end of March, we will have around 11,000, 12,000 people participating in the event, and we would have reached around 2 million people, on our social media channel. If we are able to disseminate our information, I think that should be the first good start which we can do on the awareness part. And this is from my end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is amazing. So just to wrap up, I think we are launching CHI officially, CHI ORDI officially, I think on 23rd. And then shall we send another sort of survey for next meeting, or shall we decide the date now in 4 weeks time? Shall we decide the date now, or shall we send
I think you
survey?
send a doodle poll so that everybody's date you can find.
Okay, we'll send the doodle poll.
Yeah, doodle poll is always good.
And the dates for the webinars, was that comfortable? Was that convenient to you all as well about those in April, or because we were thinking of 2 or 3 hours of webinar in April, end of April.
Why don't you send again if the date is not yet fixed? If you could send it again so that we'll all check that we are there on the day when it is finally decided, so that we can all contribute.
Okay, that will be great. Yeah, so we will do that. Maybe we'll do that this week and send out the dates.
Yeah.
And then if it works out, that'll be great.
Yeah. Wonderful.